I'm going to introduce Chris Waddle, and it was really thanks to the forward and inspired thinking of our parks manager that we employed a countryside ranger, because a couple of years ago we were about to take on land to the east of Truro, which is 4 acres at Beechwood Park and 38 acres at Coosbean to the west. And we were lucky enough to get Chris Waddle, who's got an awful lot of experience with woodland and with working with groups. And since he started nearly 2 years ago, he's significantly increased the access to the woodland at Coosbean without compromising any of the biodiversity. And it's really important because the woodland runs alongside, pardon? Sorry, the woodland runs alongside the cycle path. And so there is a bit of a conflict between cyclists and dog walkers, but that's been largely sorted. And he's also worked with quite a lot of hard to reach groups, and he's given them enormous sense of satisfaction, and they've really helped us. So it's a really, a win-all situation. And he's also worked with local community groups and got them enthused. And he's worked with people who knows those woods like the back of their hands. And they've just been really pleased to work with him. And when I see Chris outside the woods, I'm always a bit surprised, because the woods seem like his natural habitat. And I can see him one day building a Ben Law wooden house and living there. So, Chris, can we hand over to you now for your video and talk, please?
Cam, thanks for that, Lindsay. Yeah, so just going on from what you said there, one of the biggest impacts that the community have had on the woodland is, like you said, the knowledge that's already there, really. So it was a few decisions really on what to do the talk on, but I think to try and show people how much of an impact they actually have had on helping me in my job role, but obviously the council to reach what their main goals are. Because obviously we do have these native woodlands, and they are incredibly sensitive and full of wildlife, and they are used. And by opening up access, as a council, we want the public to use the woodlands, but we also want to help them understand the importance of them, really, and how best to enjoy them. So I'll put a video together trying to explain this, and as long as somebody can keep me right, I'll share my screen, and I'll optimize. And press play.
So this is Coosbean. This is one of the green spaces that we manage as part of Truro City Council. It's the largest area that we manage. It's around 40 acres. It's predominantly broadleaf woodland, but also hosts beautiful meadows such as this one. And the importance of the community within all these areas, especially this one, is the knowledge that is already here, that's been developed by community members over the years before the council even took it over as a wildlife area. Now, a perfect example of
Did that work, Lindsay?
Yes, Chris, it was working.
Oh, okay, sorry, just had a couple of messages through. I'll go back on, I'll start again. Sorry.
Chris, full screen is up, yeah.
Yeah.
why the community is so important is this little creature right here, which is a wasp spider. And due to certain members of the public having such a keen interest in the nature of these areas, we're already aware of certain species such as this one and other species throughout the woods, and that gives us a kickstart in how to manage the area. So due to this knowledge being within the community already, and then the City Council been very fortunate to be able to progress from this, we can then start to survey the areas, and over the years we can see if what we're doing from a woodland management perspective is having a negative or a positive impact, and then potentially change our management approaches moving on from that. So if you have a look around the area as well up here, you can see this Himalayan balsam growing in the brambles up there. I mean, Himalayan balsam is one of the invasive species that we've got growing in these areas that, if left unmanaged, would have a catastrophic impact on the biodiversity of the area. Japanese knotweed's another one that we've got, and with the community's input, we've been very fortunate that they've helped us to not only find these patches, but also put in the effort to be helping eradicate it. So as a City Council, as staff members, we can do so much, but we've had regular community members coming on their own time and pulling the Himalayan balsam before it goes into seed. So although there's still some gone into flower now and going into seed, we're aware of where they are, and we can manage it over the years moving on forward from this, and then protect our riverbanks, protect our wildflower meadows, and help encourage a more biodiverse flora as well. And another huge part of this woodland community is the creative aspect of it. So within the woodlands, we've got so many different painted stones. We've got a local member called John Rowe who has had a huge impact on this woodland community and walked these woods for years, and he started creating little fairy doors. Now these fairy doors have actually got the community to come into the woods a lot more. Families are coming in, children are coming in, and they're enjoying the woods, but it's also opening their eyes up to what's around the woodland as well, and it's helping us then have the opportunity to educate the public into what the importance is of these woodlands, not only for people to enjoy and also the native flora and fauna, but also the bigger picture of green spaces in areas for global warming and, you know, the environment as a whole. So moving on from that creative aspect, we can then start to develop things like bird boxes, bug hotels, which have already, you know, been created, and bat boxes, and then we can start to run woodcraft groups which can, you know, teach people the skills to make their own boxes, and then have a little bit of an ownership over the woods, of creating something that will help nature. So this little patch of flora, if you like, is bordered by 2 footpaths. So the public walk up here and they walk down there, and this little area is left to its own devices. The predominant tree within this area is the ash, and it looks to me as if dieback has set in and it's killing off the ash trees. There's a good spread of ground flora, mainly grasses, but you can see there's a knotweed here that's started to go into seed, and that's a great late nectar source for pollinating bees and butterflies. So with the community's involvement, we're very fortunate to have been donated some tree packs from the Woodland Trust. Now this is through schools, so local schools have applied for those trees for us. Now using the children from those schools and getting them involved, we're not only going to educate them on the importance of the biodiverse landscape, we've actually created an opportunity for them to be able to plant up new species of tree, such as silver birch, rowan, and wild cherry, field maple. And throughout the area we can then educate the children on what trees bring and also what best areas to plant them. So within this little sward here, through winter, we could take out the ash trees, replant up some silver birch, and then as the birch grows we could look at what other ground flora that could bring. Now that would then encourage the children who've planted these to learn a bit more about not only what trees do to the environment, but also other impacts on other species of flora as well, which would then have an impact on what fauna are available. So I'm alongside the River Kenwyn, which is the river that runs through Truro Woodland. Now, the community have helped develop these footpaths and again it's encouraging the community to come in and understand the wildlife, understand nature, start to get a bit of a feel for what it's about. And they've also helped us create boardwalks such as this one, which helps us keep off the sensitive areas such as riverbanks, and it will help people to create a viewpoint with a different aspect. And I've got a great view here of all the dragonflies and bees and butterflies on the ground flora. So by lifting ourselves off the ground, sensitive areas, it also allows flora to grow underneath.
Another incredibly important mammal within our woodlands is our bat population. We have many different species of bats within the woodland, and we're very fortunate that due to our amazing community, we've been shown a roost site for some lesser horseshoes.
So alongside the River Allen here, which runs through another site that we manage as council, this is Dover's Moor, and this is a little small riparian woodland running alongside the river. And fortunately for us, we've got a lot of alder native to this area. And the beauty of alder is that it has special bacteria built into its root nodules, which can help use atmospheric nitrogen to bring to the soil. And by having the public's and the community's engagement in this, we can encourage them to understand this, and then we can educate them on the different trees. So that can help us to help them protect our trees, such as alder, which are very important for this amazing landscape, because this is a place that's used a lot by the public, especially dog walkers, children playing, families, and we want to encourage them to come and use the woodlands, but also to understand the importance. So they've also had a huge impact in the last few years of helping to develop the footpaths. So by putting a footpath in on these beautiful areas, we're channeling traffic of the public onto a segregated area which we've decided that we can use and manage, and then the other areas, which is the vast portion of it, are still sustainably managed and protected. So if you have a look around in this area, we've got native woodland, mainly broadleaf trees, and we can also hear the birds, the beautiful birds and the bugs. And within this area there's a lot of fallen deadwood, there's a lot of brush piles, and there is streams of water running through, which are all brilliant for wildlife, but it's protected because the public is staying within this area. So by encouraging the community to come in and be part of how we manage the woodlands, educating them on trees such as this alder, we can also help to protect areas such as this. Otherwise we could have community groups running everywhere and disturbing and destroying really special native biodiverse areas. So we're in a really sensitive sort of wildflower meadow area of Dover's Moor, and this little patch here consists of a sort of naturally formed pond that's just developed over there. So through management with the community, we've managed to increase that pond, and in turn we've actually encouraged a lot more growth of different variety of wildflowers. We're in autumn now and we're still hosting different flora in bloom. So we've got some common fleabane, which is hosting so many different bugs, such as these shield bugs, there's grasshoppers and crickets, endless amount of spiders as well. And with the community's engagement, we've managed to keep these tracks so that not only the community can access them, but they're also tracks for wildlife, and it can help segregate these areas for a lot of the bug life. We've got a huge collection of bee species, butterfly species, dragonflies down on the riverbank there, and the bloom of wildflower meadows through spring and summer in this little area itself was incredible. We had marsh valerian, we can still see there's a lot of meadowsweet there, which is starting to go to seed now, we've got a lot of marsh woundwort, and we can actually see that although one of the invasive species is this bindweed, it's actually hosting a lot of insect life as well. So this is hugely used by the public, and it's loved by the public. But you can see by having their engagement in understanding the way we're managing it and understanding the footpaths are there to be stuck to, and to separate the sort of more sensitive areas, we're actually protecting and creating a more biodiverse little area, and on the meadow on the other side there, even bigger area. So as time goes on over the years that the council manage these sites, then we can increase more understanding of the woods, more understanding of nature, more understanding of biodiversity in the public, and then they can in turn use that sort of knowledge to appreciate these areas in the most appropriate way for both. So this is one tiny independent example of how the community involvement is really important in managing these woodlands as a city council. This is purple loosestrife. It's a plant that's native to the UK, and it hosts a whole range of benefits ecologically, and it also helps to create a more biodiverse area. Now, we planted these plants up with a member of the public who approached me and asked if he could plant these plants, and now they're doing very successful, and they've brought another dimension to the area. But due to the beautiful colour of it, it actually draws people's attention in as well, so the public will sort of see these plants with all these different colours blended in with the yellows and the whites and the pinks, and it creates almost like that wildflower meadow feeling that everybody wants to achieve, but they're native. And you can see the public have appreciated it and left it to do its thing, and now it's going into seed. Over time it will spread, and again with community engagement we can help to create an even more biodiverse area as the years pass on. So the development of footpaths is incredibly important in areas such as this, in public woodlands. This area, before it was under management of the council, was a little bit of a camping ground for homeless, or a place where teenagers would come and, drug use, drinking, antisocial behaviour. But with the community's involvement from different volunteer groups, we've managed to develop a footpath that comes through here, clean the area up, and do quite a few bits of thinning works just to increase more light. As you can see now, we've got a better display of grasses down here. There's a lot more ground flora. We can see more bugs flying around. I can see a bee flying around there as well. We managed to channel the water into areas where the public now want to come down this area and enjoy it as a place to walk and visit and enjoy. And that's actually stopped the antisocial behaviour, so I haven't seen anywhere near as many camps or signs, if you like, or rubbish left over from antisocial behaviour. So that in turn also has a huge increase in the growth of the biodiverse landscape. If you have a look just down this area here as well, perfect example of how coppice management has made a difference. So this sort of hazel, what at the minute looks like a bush, but obviously it's a coppice hazel still. That was only coppiced earlier in spring, and it's now autumn. It's grown really well due to the added light that's coming through from the community's work as well. Now this has all come in place after following a bit of an ecological report as well, which has given us a bit of a framework of things to work on. So this has now created a huge area that over time will increase in flora and fauna, and therefore create a more biodiverse landscape. And with the ever passionate community around here, we've already started collecting seeds, so that's another huge impact of community involvement. So seed collection of native seeds on site, and we'll be able to distribute them across areas such as this and other parts of the meadows to then next year and the year after develop a more biodiverse area. Glasdena River in the middle of the Glasdena woodland. It's a beautiful little valley nested in the middle of the housing estate called Beechwood Park, frequented by many of the residents around the estate and members of the public. It hosts a whole range of wildlife. We've seen badgers, foxes, a whole host of bird life and other mammals, and it was unfortunately riddled with rubbish, mainly domestic and building waste. So with the community engagement, especially different volunteer groups such as Duke of Edinburgh Ward students and local residents, we've managed to clear a whole host of the rubbish away, which will have a massive impact on the flora and fauna. And now with the community's engagement, they can come down, enjoy the woodland and start to learn a lot more about what the woodland offers. So by organising regular sessions within the woods with our local community, the community now start to come into these woods and obviously appreciate them and enjoy them. The young ones are starting to play. By playing within the woods, they're starting to open their minds up to what beautiful trees we have around, what beautiful flora we have on the ground, what animals come in. They ask questions about bird life, bug life, and it's really interesting for them to integrate themselves within these woods. And then that's educating them on how best to look after these woodlands, which is in turn going to have a huge effect on the flora and fauna. Inevitably these woods, because they're public, are always going to have people visiting them. So by educating them, we are then giving them the tools, if you like, to appreciate these woods in the most ecologically beneficial way. There are lots of brush piles around from bits of thinning we've done, and that's happened through creating tracks. Now these tracks are available for the community to use so they can access the woods, but they're also runways for animals, definitely mammals, so they can access these woods as well. And the brush piles and habitat piles create habitats not only for mammals to nest in, but also for bug life to nest and use as well. So as we head down through the river's a lot cleaner now than what it was when we first took over these woods, which is obviously going to have a huge impact on the ecological biodiversity of the woods. And on the other side of the river, after it shoots down under the ground, we've got a really dark section there, which is overtook by just sycamore mainly, and sycamore has sort of colonised those woods to a point where come winter we can educate the local schools, and then we can start to thin out some of those trees that are invasive and start to replant other species of trees which will help to develop a more biodiverse range. And fortunately for us, the school that is local to this area has already applied for a woodland pack of trees which is now available to be planted over winter. So by using the school and the community, we can educate them on each independent species of tree and what ecological benefits they bring, and then by planting up, the community will start to receive an ownership of the woods, and that's what we want to give back to the community in all of our woodlands. They start to own the woods, they start to respect and look after it, and they help us manage it for what's best for the woods, which is developing the biodiverse area.
Thanks, Chris. That was a lovely video. Would you like to add anything? Or do you want to say a few more words?
Well, I mean, I could go on for ages about the importance of the community within the woodlands, but you know, I think it's mainly just the knowledge that's already there, really, in the passion of the local community, and how much benefit we get in what we want to achieve, which is encouraging people in, but also trying to develop the flora and fauna.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say there is one question here. Sorry, Lindsay, I didn't get it to you in time. Has Truro City Council considered designating the wild areas they manage as local nature reserves? They're not even designated at Cornwall wildlife sites at present, and that is from Loveday Jenkin.
Sorry, can you repeat that? It was hard to.
Has Truro City considered designating the wild areas that they manage as local nature reserves? They are not even designated as Cornwall wildlife sites at present.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that as time goes on, we can look into applying for. Obviously, my immediate manager, Richard Budge, the Parks Committee manager, he works alongside myself with applying for giving these sites these statuses, so we can have more of an impact on managing them for what we want. But at the moment, no, it's correct. They are still public land. But we personally, within myself and working alongside Richard, we will be looking forward to giving them some sort of classification, depending on what criteria we need to follow, really. But it's an interesting question that somebody's already thought that, because yeah, we need to look forward, really, over time.
But they, I mean, as council land, they are protected. Well, they certainly couldn't go for development, for example. I mean, we do at least have that amount of protection and that amount of control.
Lindsay, sorry, Richard Budge has got his hand up. I think he'd like to add to that.
Oh, is he? Or should we bring? Oh, hello.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. How you all doing? Hope you're enjoying the whole event. I've been really impressed with all the speakers and everything that everybody's done. So many congratulations to you all. It's been really interesting. I hope Chris Jones enjoys the picture on my my right shoulder. I'm sure that he will. But anyway, just to say, yes, we are working at actually designating our areas. Dobus Moors is already recognised as a local reserve, and if you look on the Ordnance Survey map, it is marked as a nature reserve. We've worked with Cornwall Wildlife Trust and put in many recommendations that they'd made to manage that before we employed Chris. Along with the other areas, we've only just recently taken them on, but the beauty of us actually taking these areas on, it does protect them for the future. We will be there to manage them, maintain them, and make sure that they're there for future generations to enjoy. And generations of insects, wildlife, and everything else that uses the moors. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much, Chris, for that. That was brilliant. And if you ever want to meet Chris, just wander into the woods. You'll probably find him there. He'll be busy at work. So he spends most of his time there. So thank you so much.